All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. As was previously communicated, David T. Howard will offer Algebra 1 as a sole advanced math course for 8th grade students this fall. And we're going to have a forum. So we plan today's meeting as a forum to address concerns with how this change aligns, just making sure I'm not on mute. So how these changes align with the math program our students will move on to at Grady High School. Joining us today from Grady High School are Dr. Bachman, the principal of Grady High School, and Ms. Hollis, one of the assistant principals at Grady High School. We also have Ms. Allen, who is one of our admin team members, along with Dr. Harper. And Dr. Harper is our 8th grade assistant principal. We also have Ms. Martin on the line, and she is our 8th grade counselor. Ms. Poe is the last person I went to, last but not least, Ms. Poe, she is the Howard Instructional Specialist and will be our moderator today. And so first, Ms. Allen will speak more about our decision. Then the Grady leadership team will discuss their alignment with this decision. We have always worked with Grady collaboratively to transition our students from 8th grade to 9th grade, including today. So please add any questions via the YouTube chat. And so let's get started. So Ms. Allen, could you just talk a little bit more about the decision that we made at David T. Howard?
Hi, everybody. How are you? I hope that you're well at this time. I'm excited to be able to speak with you and share with you more information about our decisions. First, we definitely want to share with you that, we want to ensure that our students are fully prepared for the highest level of mathematics at Grady High School. And this is where that decision comes from. Some of the information that we have already shared in the letter, but we wanted to reiterate is that we carefully reviewed our curriculum and our course offerings due to the delayed start for virtual school between last spring and this fall. We have spoken to the APS teaching and learning team, Grady High School leadership team, our leadership team, and our actual 8th grade teachers who have been teaching this content for several years. And so we don't have new teachers teaching this content. It will be teachers who have been teaching this content for the last few years. We determined that Howard will offer Algebra 1 as the sole advanced math course for 8th grade students this fall. That means that accelerated Algebra 1 and Geometry 8 course will not be offered. Our objective in this meeting is to further discuss the decision and, most importantly, discuss a pathway for students who want to take the highest math at Grady High School.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen, for that. And so this is a time just to open up and talk to Grady. We have talked about this before, Dr. Bachman and Ms. Hollis, about this decision, about looking at going from 180-day to the 170-day schedule, the virtual learning that's happening, that happened last spring and this fall, and having conversations around that. And so when the 8th grader who is taking the Algebra 1 course and they want to go from there to the, correct me if I'm wrong, so the Calculus BC, what kind of pathways are there for that to occur?
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. I'm Betsy Bachman, principal at Grady, and just know that when your child comes to Grady next year in August, that we'll be able to meet his or her needs like we always have in every subject, especially math. And we've always had a number of choices based on the APS math curriculum, the offerings from the state, Atlanta virtual, Georgia virtual. So there are lots of opportunities for students to reach their potential in any content area, and especially math. So I'm going to let Mrs. Hollis talk a little bit about what we can plan to do. Of course, that's a year away from now, and things are always subject to change as they have been this year, but this is what we would plan to do as far as math offerings for students that come in 9th grade. So Ms. Hollis, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Takesha Hollis, Assistant Principal at Grady High School. And as Dr. Bachman has stated, if your student comes a year ahead, your student would still be able to take AP Calculus BC if that is their ultimate goal. So what we do want to caution parents about is when you get to high school, the number of course offerings expand exponentially. And so if you have a drive right now for mathematics, when you get to Grady, that might not be your drive. And so because of that, we have to make sure that we allow counselors to assist parents and students in making those decisions as they move forward as to whether or not your goal really is to make it to AP Calculus BC. So in the past, with the accelerated program, we typically only have 40 students that decide to remain in AP Calculus BC through their senior year. If you come to Grady with Algebra 1 being completed in 8th grade, you would be able to then move forward to geometry and then matriculate through. There is an option to do a double math in 9th grade, which would be geometry and algebra 2, both taken within that school year, and then move on to pre-calculus. And then the next course would be AP Calculus AB, and then AP Calculus BC. So most students take AP Statistics as well. And then we have other math-based computer science classes that they can take that are accelerated as well. So there are opportunities for the child to accelerate, either the double math, you have summer enrichment programs that the district does in the summer with SIMC, and that is another opportunity for the student to take a course over the summer to still gain credit to move on to the next course for the next traditional school year. So there are options for the child to gain mastery and get to AP Calculus BC, or to attend Georgia Tech and take calculus at Georgia Tech if that's what they want to do during high school. So there are many options available for students to engage in to get to that ultimate goal.
Ms. Hollis, one question has just been, could you display the chart that shows the pathway? Would you be able to do that?
Or
Okay.
do I have the capabilities of sharing my screen?
I just checked off multiple participants can share simultaneously, so I think you do. And Ms. Poe can chime in if she agrees that, oh, yeah, it looks like it's happening.
Okay, so on this first chart, it is just the list of what I verbally stated. What you've seen traditionally over the past 2 years at Inman, now Howard, I have to pause to make sure I'm saying the right school, has been this accelerated pathway, which is highlighted on the left side, on the right, yeah, the left side. And then on the right side is what is being completed now. Again, there's an opportunity for the student to take geometry and algebra 2, both in the 9th grade year, which then puts them on track for pre-calculus in 10th grade. So there's flexibility around what the student takes in that area.
And Ms. Hollis, we will make sure that you get the new crest for David T. Howard, and so you can update that next time. So we will make sure of that.
I didn't show the first slide intentionally, like as a presentation, since I don't have that crest or
Yeah.
the picture of the new Howard, since you have not gained your certificate of occupancy yet.
Miss Hollis, no,
I
that's our fault.
didn't do it as a presentation.
I'm sure Miss Poe will send that to you now after this meeting. So.
Ms. Hollis, a question that Ms. Hollis, this question has been worded two ways. It is, would the second math in ninth grade be considered an elective? Follow-up question is, what do you have to give up by doing double math in ninth grade?
Okay, so math is not an elective. Math is a core subject area. And so you have to, it's not going to change regardless of how many math you take in one school year. It's still a core credit. So the answer to that question is no. If you take two maths in your ninth grade year, you get 2 Carnegie units for core math. The second question, what do you have to give up? Well, you only get 8 classes. So in order to take the 2 classes, you're going to give up an elective, whatever that elective may be.
All right, next question. Can a student take AP statistics without taking AP calculus?
Majority of our students take AP statistics during during pre-calculus. You have to have had Algebra 2 in order to take AP statistics. And so many students take it concurrently with pre-calculus or with AP calculus, AB or BC. And not all students actually go straight into AP calculus, AB. Some students just take regular calculus. They don't want the pressure that comes with taking an advanced placement college work course, but they do want the exposure prior to going into college. So you don't have to take AP calculus.
I think this question is, so in the new pathway, students do not do AP Calculus BC.
No, that's not true. If you double up or take one of the classes in the summer, you can take AP Calculus BC. I just want to caution people that only 40 students out of 350 students in any particular class actually chooses to take AP Calculus BC because there are so many other options.
I'm not sure if I understand this question. Why it is not prerequisite now for the combined class? That person, I'm so sorry, your username is 72 Galit Tush. If you could please clarify that question. I'm sorry, I'm unclear of it. Hold up. Okay. Will we be able to do accelerated geometry B / algebra 2 by doing AVA? AVA does not offer the course accelerated geometry B / algebra 2. So AVA does not offer what's considered the accelerated classes. They offer geometry and they offer algebra 2. Yeah. Okay, here's this question. This is more for Howard to answer. I understand the school year will be shorter, 170 days instead of 180. Why does this mean the accelerated class in 8th grade should be canceled? The students could be given an option. So things that we know, some other facts we know. Facts we know, as you said, we are short 10 days. That's not just 10 days of a standard school years. That's 10 days with a mix of a virtual school model. So at Howard, if students would have come into the building, they would have classes that are approximately 60 minutes each. in this virtual model, our classes are 40 minutes each. So as you can see, that accumulates to a lot of minutes that are now been reduced in the virtual model. Another fact is that the accelerated course is 3 semesters in 2 semesters, truncated down into 2 semesters. So we now have 3 semesters, and one could consider how reasonable it was to do 3 semesters in 2. Well, now we're looking at 3 semesters in 2/3 of a year, some of those things. Mathematically, the amount of standards that a teacher has to cover to make sure that a student is proficient in both the algebra and the geometry skills that they have to get to, a bit unreasonable. Last fact is, last year we started virtual school in quarter 4. Quarter 4 for 7th graders in that accelerated math spend most of their time in the 8th grade standards. Again, modified schedule. We went on an AB schedule. And so we know that we have to shore up the 8th grade standards. And so when we talk about 10 days less this year, we also now have more instructional days dedicated to shoring up 8th grade standards. So a lot of less time. And we're just also taking into consideration the whole child. When you think about a student's emotional sense, their social aspect, right? We want to make sure that during this pandemic that they can ease through their instructional courses with a balance. So those are the facts on why we have chosen not to offer the accelerated algebra / geometry.
And Ms. Allen, I do want to say, I think those are excellent points. I do want to say that we listen to our teachers, and while this is our decision, this is leadership team's decision, is that, and Dr. Bachman knows this as well, is we had 2 teachers, and Mr. Reuter and Mr. Rainey. I think Dr. Bachman actually hired both of those teachers. Is that if you look at their data, they are some of the best 8th grade teachers in the state by just looking at their end of course assessment and end of grade assessments. And so we listened to them also about this decision, and if it was something that could be done within the time frame and with everything else that's happening. And so I think sometimes with leadership, you think of it as a top down, but we always have to listen to our teachers, and especially in this situation.
Looking at this question, Algebra 1 / accelerated from is given today as one class. Why one needs to take Algebra 1 first to do AVA in geometry? And Ms. Hollis, you might be able to be best answer that. The person's asking, and if I'm correct, they want to know if they can take geometry on AVA. And I think the question might be—
the question is asking if they can take the courses concurrently, and the answer is no. Those are
Right.
sequential courses. One is a prerequisite of the other. There are algebraic skills concepts that a student needs to know to be successful in geometry. And so you are not allowed or permitted to take those concurrently. Like, for example, it is okay to take pre-calculus and AP statistics concurrently at the same time, because the prerequisites for those courses are Algebra 2. And so then you've met those prerequisite requirements per the state guidelines. And so then you can take those courses at the same time. The state says that you must take Algebra 1 prior to taking prior to taking geometry, so that you can be successful. And so therefore you cannot take them concurrently or at the same time, if that's the question that was being asked.
I think that was the question. That question was asked in another way, and Ms. Hollis did just answer that question. I'll just read it aloud. Can you consider allowing Algebra 1 and geometry at the same time? You did hear Ms. Hollis speak to that set by the state that is a prerequisite and the sequence for that. Reading this next question.
I'm sorry, it's just some of us were born in here.
Okay, the question is, even though students will only be given 2/3 time for teaching, Will there be teachers giving new material every day with lectures and time for office hours / question? I believe you might be asking about the daily instructional schedule. And so, yes, every class, the teacher will introduce new topic as they would if they were inside of the building. And there is a segment for office hours as well.
I can't seem to get attention or even say the right thing. Well, I know nothing about it, but I do know
Just looking through the question.
amazingly composing. So now
One
Excuse me,
parent
Ms.
does want
Allen.
to point out, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a question about Ava offering honors level courses.
They offer, and Ms. Hollis, I'll let you clarify, they're all the same.
Atlanta
course.
Virtual Academy does not offer an honors course because there is technically no difference in standards in an honors course versus a regular on-level course. The difference is how the class is taught, the level of rigor, the amount of tasks, the amount of discovery learning that is done, the critical thinking that's involved, the amount of nurturing that's given versus asking a child to persevere through to get to the answer, which is a mathematical practice. So there's no difference in the standards for Algebra 1 or Algebra 1 honors or any other course, honestly, per the state. So Atlanta Virtual Academy would not offer an honors version, and neither would Georgia Virtual.
Thank you. There's a statement that says, I'm hearing Ms. Allen say that the students will be bogged down more than we can fathom. Is that a fair assessment? I'd like to clarify that. I was not saying that the students will be bogged down. What I clarified is that the amount of time that we have available to us in comparison to the amount of standards that we have to teach, that is a bit mathematically unrealistic. So I just wanted to clarify that. There's a statement, it's a statement, Dr. Maxwell, the fact is that our students are bored in math class. And Hollis might be able to also speak to this, but I will say from a personal experience, I did teach the accelerated math classes, and I've had experience with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade standards. And I will say there's an increased level of rigor once you get to Algebra 1. That's not exactly the same when you talk about middle school standards. And I personally have, and I would agree with you, that many of our brightest students breeze right through the middle school curriculum. But as a teacher who taught the accelerated math classes, that they often felt that shift. They felt that kind of like, whoa, this is a little different once we reach our high school classes. So, I would expect that your students would feel it to be a little different and not breeze as much as they had during those the middle school curriculum standards.
Okay, there's another question that says, if our model is to prepare for college and career, how is our shortened year and shortened day going to let our kids compete against private school kids going nearly full time since March?
So that question, last year, I think Ms. Sofianos called it at Morningside. It was crisis learning because we were at the end of the year, and so our schedule will be a lot different, and we'll have more minutes than the schedule that we had in the spring. And we will be sending out that schedule. Actually, we want to send it to the staff first, but the standards of service, which is basically the minutes for every core subject, will be over 200 minutes a week. And so you're going to see a schedule that is much more robust than you saw at the end of the year. And so I think that question will be answered more once we send out that schedule to the community in the next couple of days.
see questions. The one question is, what math classes can students take via AVA and receive credit? Ms. Hollis, I'm gonna let you answer that one.
Technically, until they finish Algebra 1 at Howard, they would not be able to take any math course on AVA to receive credit. But if they so wanted to do so after the school year has ended, then they would need to take the full year of geometry, which is parts A and B, not one or the other, but both parts, in order to move forward to Algebra 2 for the next school year. And I will caution that it is a robust course because you are doing 2 semesters or a year-long course in a matter of 6 weeks. So when you're doing that, please be mindful that you still have to cover all 50 plus standards for that year. And if the state does enact the milestones end of course assessment back for next summer, then you will have to be responsible for taking that said assessment as well. And that grade and that assessment would count towards your high school GPA.
Let's see, we've answered about the AVA. The question Ms. Kate is asking, kids can take geometry and algebra 2 together, but not algebra 1 and geometry together. That is correct. And this is that the case even with Georgia Virtual School? And I believe Ms. Hollis, again, this is a state decision that it's algebra 1 prerequisite before geometry.
Algebra 1 is a prerequisite before geometry and a prerequisite to Algebra 2. Geometry is not a prerequisite to Algebra 2.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make you more informed, and does it help you to think in more abstract ways when dealing with higher level functions in Algebra 2? Absolutely. It is not a requirement though. So you can switch those courses as far as Algebra 2 and geometry, but we don't advise taking Algebra 2 in 10th grade year and then geometry because you have so many milestones in your junior year anyway. And that would add yet another state assessment on top of the ones that you're already slated to take in your junior year. So unless you double up and take both maths at the same time, either your 9th or 10th grade year, it is not recommended or suggested that you switch the order unless you're going to do them both at the same time.
Thank you, Ms. Hollis. It says, Dr. Maxwell, to confirm what you said, the Howard Accelerated teachers, Mr. Reuter and Ms. Rainey, felt advised, maybe the word felt doesn't need to be there, but advised you to drop this class this year. I know it was directed to him, but it was a collective decision that definitely included the teachers. It was a separate conversation with teachers, and then a conversation with the Grady leadership team, and a conversation with the APS teaching and learning team. And so absolutely, Mr. Reuter and Ms. Rainey gave their input, and they were in full support of doing Algebra 1 as our sole advanced math offering.
Okay, Ms. Allen, I have another question to bring to you. For students who took on-level math in 7th grade and want to test into accelerated math class in 8th grade, how will the process work for them and when will they be tested?
That process is entirely decided by the APS teaching and learning team. And so they have stated that they will do testing, and it will be at the start of the school year. As of this time, I do not have the date, but we will be providing them with all of the parents' names who have inquired about their students being tested, or students who received a math level up invite. That summer program did not happen this summer. They will continue to move forward with that testing. Unfortunately, again, I do not have the date, but as soon as I receive the date, I will share that information.
Another question is regarding testing out of geometry. And the question is there a way to take an end of course test to skip geometry altogether?
The answer to that question is yes, if milestones are being held for the state. We do not control whether or not milestones are administered by the state. And as of right now, we have petitioned the federal government to not administer milestones, end of course or end of year exams for the 2021 school year. That does not mean we will not be doing so for the 21-22 school year, which would be when this question would be valid when they're coming to Grady. So there is the option of testing out as long as you have not spent any time under direct instruction in a structured school environment for that said subject. The guidelines are on the testing and assessment website for the state and are often communicated in the spring through the respective schools. But that is an option if the state is administering the exam.
Thank you. And there is
And, oh, I'm sorry, not to interrupt. If you test out, you must make distinguished.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very
If you
important.
make proficient, then you still have to sit for the course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Poe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The other one is a comment, and I just wanted Dr. Maxwell or Miss Allen to clarify. And it talks about it's a pity that our kids would miss, as you said, the best teachers in the state, and just letting the parents know that just because their kids aren't sitting for that course, they will still have Mr. Reuter, could still have Mr. Reuter as a teacher. He's still a teacher in our building, so the kids won't necessarily miss out on having those teachers.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Reuter is with us. Actually, Miss Rainey is now a master teacher leader at Young Middle School, and it's something that was her goal that she wanted some more leadership from an instructional standpoint. And so Simpson, the principal, and she is actually our content lead for math. And between Dr. Bachman and me, we've hired her 3 times, once at Cohen and twice at Inman. And so, you know, she is an excellent teacher also. And so she will take Miss Rainey's place teaching the Algebra 1 courses.
I will say that my son, who will be a senior, who is a senior now, he'll take calculus this year, but he was fortunate actually in his 8th grade year to have both Mr. Reuter and Miss Rainey. So first semester, because of a scheduling thing, he had Mr. Reuter and he had Miss Rainey. So I was very fortunate to experience both teachers as a parent and as their principal.
That's great.
Let's see. Oh, is the Howard team open for any possible revision of their decision? Why not offer the canceled course and assess how students are doing after, say, 100 days? At this time, we will not be revising our decision. However, we are always monitoring and evaluating our course offerings. And I will definitely say in Emmett's history, we are no foreigners to having to offer a class, say October or November because of, whether the district made an adjustment adjustment or whether our population just needed something different. And so we do plan to monitor our students' progress and to look at data to see where our best class offering, the appropriate class offerings are. So we do want to say that that door is open there.
Well, I think the other thing is also is like we did now, and we will continue to do, is we'll listen to our teachers, and obviously once they go live, those teachers, we will be in collaboration with whether it's the math teachers or any one of our teachers. We just try to listen to them throughout this process, especially going virtual at the very beginning this year.
There's a question about why are classes 40 minutes instead of 60 minutes? Will they be broadcast from the classroom?
I just think we need to answer some of those questions. If they're not specific to math, to this situation, we will have another lunch and learn to have some more conversations around the schedule.
I know this question's been answered, but is there a way to give students the choice to do Algebra 1 and geometry at this time? It's important to know we use data to make our decisions. And so we wouldn't do that at this time. So just to say that. Okay, you answered the geometry question. Great shout out to Mr. Reuters, phenomenal. Thank you. We will make sure he knows that. For testing out, when would the test take place? I want to say Ms. Hollis answered that, which is when testing opens up. And they said, is that normally in August or May? Testing out, there's a set of window, right?
Normally in June or August or September, depending on when the letter, when the person enrolls. I mean, there are some situations where it has gone as far as mid-September for the mid-month administration window for high school, because high school has mid-month administration windows for various cases. But typically those happen at the end of June. And then once we return back, but we will have to wait for the state to make those kind of determinations, because we do not pick the window for administration. We pick the dates within the window that the state has prescribed.
I think the question is there a possibility that the course can be offered later in the year? We're not making any promises. We've set up to offer the students Algebra 1 at this time. We will continue to evaluate and monitor student progress to make the best decisions at that time. If milestones are not administered in the spring, doesn't that allow for more instructional time? If so, wouldn't that be a reason to keep the most challenging math class? In regards to milestones and preparing for milestones, especially a student in an accelerated course, they take 2 or 3 days. I know you may hear in an on-level class, they might take a week or more to review and prepare for milestones. But given the number of standards in the accelerated course, they only allot a class period or 2 to review that. The expectation is that the students are retaining those skills all along to be able to perform well on the milestones.
And let me add to that response that Algebra 1 has 53 standards. Accelerated Algebra 1 geometry goes more towards 70 to 80 standards. And because of that, there's only so much wiggle room that Howard is going to have in order to meet that need of completing mastery of those said standards. So I just don't want to give the false impression that we're talking about a small number of standards. It's a substantial difference in the number of standards the courses are required to master. In addition to that, typically, because the milestones that they take in 8th grade for the accelerated course is Algebra 1, the teachers are planning their pacing around the fact that there would be time after the milestones to continue with the geometry standards that they need to master before they leave 8th grade. So that window of opportunity is not really there because they're still teaching so that they can get through the substantial amount of standards that they have to cover in one school year. I'm sorry for adding because that was not my
No, I appreciate it.
realm, but I was just trying
Thank you,
to
Ms. Hollis.
get some
Thank you.
clarity.
Never have to apologize for that. That was great. That was great.
Yeah. We're in our last few minutes here. A statement of my daughter found last year's math to be a breeze. And that, you know, it's a disappointing that they are not given a chance to be challenged further. I assure you, our teachers will challenge the students. The Algebra 1 course is not less challenging than the other accelerated course. They have the same level of rigor. What we're talking about is the number of standards being covered in a course. And so those students will be challenged. And I assure you, she'll feel it to be a little more challenging than what she experienced during her middle school curriculum.
To add to that statement, there is a difference in the type of math that is taught elementary and middle school where the focus is on numeracy than when you get to a high school course when your focus is on abstract ideas. And not to discount the foundational skills that you need in a middle grades math class, because there was success in middle grades math, it does not always have a direct correlation with the success that you have in a more abstract class, because middle grades math is more about concrete and representation. High school math is about getting to representation and applying that to a more abstract concept. And as you jump to a collegiate course, which is your calculus, is really just in the abstract realm. And because you've done well in the previous grade band of math does not mean it is going to be a breeze to do so well when you get to that next level of abstraction. So I just wanted to add that piece of clarity.
Thank you. There's a statement about that you think students, not you, whoever you is, think students who made it to accelerated math are not able to handle the Algebra G course, and therefore they will be placed in a course that will not offer them a challenge they need. And so I want to say that, you know, I've got to work closely with a lot of your students. You know, I recognize your names. You have amazing students. I want to say that, and they absolutely can flourish and shine. So please know that our decision is not about our disbelief in what they can do. They show us every day what they can do, and they do some amazing things. What we want to spend time on doing is making sure that our students have a strong foundation into algebra, which we know that we see those standards and those skills being repeated in the highest level of mathematics as they make it up through those courses. So that's really where our decision is not about how fast the student can go, but making sure that they really have a strong foundation. So just wanted to say that, you know, your students are great, and this is not a reflection of what we believe that they can't do, because they show us amazing things all the time. There's a question about, I'm sorry. We have moved it. Are there any examples in APS of any courses being completely canceled this academic year? Dr. Maxwell, you can maybe take that.
We were the only middle school to teach accelerated algebra and geometry. But as far as other APS classes or offerings, I do not know that. the answer to that question.
Ms. Hollis, this is a question for you. It is, without milestones this year, how will the decision be made whether the kids can take double math next year?
We really don't have an answer to that right now. This past year, being that we were put in a situation that we really couldn't control, we accepted everyone who inquired and asked for it. I cannot say that that will be the case this year, because initially, prior to getting communication to tell us to halt on administering final exams, we were going to give the middle school algebra kids a final exam that was comprehensive and use that as a measure. But because we don't know, honestly, what this school year brings, and we really just want to focus on providing measures for whole child and for learning and growth, we can't really answer that question before seeing how this virtual environment has impacted or will impact the students that we service. So that information probably will be more forthcoming second semester as we talk with the APS coordinators for mathematics curriculum and as a leadership team at Grady High School.
And I think this is a good time too, Dr. Bachman and Ms. Hollis, is just to say that like this is one, I mean, we're having a conversation earlier than usual, but that we're going to have conversations throughout the year as we transition into ninth grade. And I know you've had some conversations with the eighth grade, the rising ninth grade parents and the students, but definitely focusing on the parents to have more of those conversations throughout the year. Do you just want to touch on that? Just to make sure that this is not going to be the last conversation with the Grady leadership before next August. Is that right?
Oh, right. We already have, Ms. Palekia, who is our ninth grade counselor, has been talking to Howard already about the transition program. So you'll be hearing a lot from Grady about ninth grade and math and science and every subject you can imagine. So we'll be in touch, close touch.
Okay.
And even about our elective programs as well, our pathway programs as well. So we don't want to just focus on math. We have a lot more to offer than just math.
Definitely.
So our final question that we'll take that I see on here, and more of a Ms. Hollis question: if there was a separate geometry pod of students for those interested, then students could test out of geometry in June and then mirror the traditional high school math progression for previous years, correct?
If the students test out of geometry, then they would move on to Algebra 2. They would not be in accelerated anything because accelerated has a different set of standards. And so in order to fit 4 years worth of math into 3 school years, standards were moved around that were a little bit more flexible. And if you were to jump onto an accelerated pathway, you would possibly have a gap in that. So you would just remain on the discrete pathway of Algebra 2, pre-calculus, and then whatever higher level math you so choose to take. Calculus, dual enrollment with the university, AP statistics, AP calculus, levels A, B, or BC. Again, there are so many options available to you once you get to us. We want you to focus on learning those foundational skills at Howard, and then we can have all kinds of conversations in the spring about what your desires are at that point.
thank you. And first of all, I just want to thank Dr. Bachman and Ms. Hollis. We had this meeting at 1:15 because we want to make sure that we were all here. We also thank you to Ms. Poe, who has recorded the meeting. And so I've already received some texts and emails because it is in the middle of the day. We have parents who are working. And so this will be available online on our website. And I will send that through our remind message also. So thank you to Ms. Poe. Dr. Harper, who is on the line, she is, again, our 8th grade assistant principal. She's been a 6th grade assistant principal. You probably remember her. Some of you remember a 6th grade. She's moving to 8th grade. And one of the things I just want to, because we're excited about her moving in that position, is that she was a former high school counselor. And we have always wanted to kind of get her into that position because, again, I think it will be very helpful as they transition, as the 8th graders transition in 9th grade. She also has a really strong relationship with Miss Palekia, who was the 6th grade counselor when she was the assistant principal. And so we're really glad for that change. And then Miss Martin, who I know is on the phone, and she's at a couple different meetings, she is has been an excellent counselor for us in 8th grade for a couple years now. And so we were glad that she is back this year. So again, thank you for coming to our YouTube Live. And again, like I said, it will be recorded and you can replay it if you missed anything, and look for the schedule in the next couple days. And just can't wait to get the school year started, as I am already in my office and trying to move in. And so can't wait to see everybody virtually and then in the school building in the next 9 weeks. So have a great rest of your day.